Good evening, everyone. Welcome to God's Prepared Warrior Roundtable Live tonight. I want to thank all of you for being here with me tonight. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. And hopefully, I'm coming across this really good. Scott Hummer says that he can hear me. Got a 5x5. Salt and Mist says 5x5. Thank you very much for those 5x5s tonight. That lets me know that we are live and we are ready to go. Well, it's been a day for me today. I had the day off, but not really because I had a lot of things here at the house to do, and my wife had a list for me to do things, and so am I tired. Uh, Glenn, refresh your screen. Okay, good. Okay, you can hear me now. Awesome. Good. So yeah, today's been a pretty good day. We've got a lot of things done here at the homestead, and everything is going well. Um, so good. Tonight, let's jump right on in. We have a pretty good topic to talk about tonight, and I am super excited that you guys are here with me tonight. All of you here on YouTube and all of you over here on TikTok. So let's share this out. Let's make sure we're liking and subscribing to the channel, because this is how you're going to know and how you're going to get all this information and how you're going to know when I put up a new video and all that good stuff. So make sure you're joining. So welcome in to the house, Scott. Welcome, Glenn. Welcome, Salt Mist. John, welcome in. And thank you guys for joining me. I have a few other people watching that haven't subscribed to the channel, because I can tell. There goes another. Somebody else just walked in. So hopefully everyone likes and subscribes to the channel so I can see your name and I can welcome you. Mike Tango Whiskey, beard is looking clean tonight. Thanks a lot, man. It's growing. It's nowhere near as big as your beard, but you know, I'm getting there. It's the little things, right? So welcome in, Mike Tango Whiskey. Thank you for joining. All right, so let's look at channel news, because remember, this channel is not really about Fernando. It's about all of you guys and all the hard work you guys do by watching all the videos, by sharing out the channel, by liking, subscribing, all of that. So let's look at the channel news, because we have another actually good day, or another good week of people who have subscribed. So today on YouTube, we are at 903 subscribers, which is totally awesome. We are up by 1 subscriber this last week. And then over on TikTok, over here with the TikTok crew, we are at 3,869 followers on TikTok. That's a congratulations to all of you TikTok guys out there. Continue to share the channel. So we are up 5 new subscribers there. Today on Facebook, we are up 2 subscribers. We are now at 180 followers on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook, which is actually pretty good. Even the Facebook community page has grown, and that is pretty good. We are sitting at 31 now, and we've gained a couple there. And over on X, we're sitting at 1,060. We gained 1 new subscriber over there. And on the Instagrams, we are at 1,037, and we gained 27 new subscribers over on Instagram, which brings us to the total for this week of 37 new family members to the God's Prepared Warrior channel. And I'm really excited. You might say, well, Fernando, if you only gain 1 person here, 2 people there, 5 there. But you know what? All of that adds up, because when you look at last week, we had many more people join. Last week we added 39 new family members, and today we actually added 37, or this week 37. So we're kind of staying in that range, which is actually pretty good. So That's the channel news. Thank you guys, because this channel is all really you guys, and I just want to encourage you guys to keep doing what you're doing, keep sharing, keep liking, and because that helps the channel grow, and I want to do this to help all of you. So thank you for joining me tonight. Let's look at what's happening in the news tonight. And again, if you want to actually look at these bits and pieces of the news, you'll have to, you guys on TikTok will have to come over here to the YouTube side. And in the description there, you're going to find all the links for all of this news that I'm going to talk about tonight and share with you, because I think some of this is important. Here's the first one. Over in Indiana, an Indiana homeowner is charged with manslaughter in killing a house cleaner who went to the wrong address. So I think I actually touched on this a while back when it actually happened. But Marina Rios Perez, a 32-year-old Guatemalan immigrant, was killed November 5th after she mistakenly went to the incorrect home in the Indianapolis suburb of Whitestown. So, you know, this Indiana homeowner, because she went to the wrong house, right? And I guess maybe she was trying to gain access. I'm not really sure. Um, so this individual actually shot her, and he was actually taken into custody, and he was charged with the fatal shooting of this house cleaner who arrived at the wrong address. She was gunned down outside the front door, authorities said today. And Kurt Anderson, 62, was taken into custody and was being held without bail Monday. He was booked on one count of voluntarily manslaughter, jail records show. So, you know, I don't know what rules there are in your state, but here in Texas, I think we have the castle doctrine. So that means that if somebody enters your home and you don't know that person, you can defend your home. And so, you know, that doctrine kind of, you know, allows us to defend our home. So I'm not really sure of all the ramifications that happened over here, but, you know, it was actually mistaken identity. The lady was at the wrong house, and let's keep her family in prayer. I think that's important for us as God's prepared warriors to do. And let's pray for Mr. Anderson, who made a decision, and without even, I'm speculating, you know, the way it sounds, you know, he just pulled the trigger. So, yeah, he is now going to prison. So, this is a tragic situation. Let's keep that in prayer. Next one, over on Fortune. Let's see, where did it go? Trump promises to send $2,000 tariff dividend checks probably in the middle of next year. A little bit later than that, probably even. So, you know, there has been this talk of, you know, stimulus checks coming out. But, you know, the stimmy is probably kind of a bad word, you know, for Republicans, because that's probably what Democrats do. And so this is the tariff dividend checks, you know. So apparently, according to Fortune magazine, they're going to be coming out next middle of next year, maybe even possibly a little later. So, you know, I wouldn't, you know, count your chickens before they hatch, you know, because it's not, hasn't been given out yet, but there is rumor, right, about it. So just know that, you know, it might be next year, in the middle of the year. Who knows? Yeah, don't spend it all in one place if you get it. I'm just saying. Here's the next one. Trump um, changes his stance on the Epstein files, and the U.S. Increases pressure on Venezuela. So, in today's story on here, this is NPR. They say that Trump has abruptly changed his stance on the Jeffrey Epstein files last night, saying, he now supports the vote, right, to release the information about Jeffrey, Epstein, and the president and his allies in Congress. Um, they actually restricted that vote for months, and now it's kind of like, oh, we're going to go ahead and do it, right? And so the House is expected to vote on that bill tomorrow. So just kind of, pay attention, stay vigilant to that, because America wants the truth, and I guess they're going to give us the truth, Lucy, thank you for the glitter badge. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Welcome, guys, coming in over here on TikTok. So that is there's a kind of they're flipping the script on that, and now they're okay with it. I don't know. Maybe everything's just going to come back, redacted, and there's going to be black marker all over the page. Maybe you're going to look at pages and pages and pages of marked out stuff that you're not going to be able to read. I mean, which is kind of what we've already kind of seen in some of the files that were given to us at the beginning, right? Yeah. And so I don't know. Just be watchful for that thing. Here's the next one. If I could get to it. Ukraine plans to buy up to 1,000 Rafale warplanes and air defense systems from France. So, the French people I think really want a war with Russia. Ukraine today signed a letter of intent to buy up to 100 of these warplanes, drones, and air defense systems and other key equipment from France over the next 10 years. So this is going to be kind of like a 10-year span of stuff, right, that they're going to purchase from them, they're going to get from them, right? It's as part of efforts to strengthen Ukraine's long-term security, right? So Zelensky was there with the French president Macron, and they called it a historic deal. So yeah, I guess they like messing with the bear. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens out of that. Pay attention to that. I think that's something right there to watch. It's boldly come out. Hey, I'm just gonna sell stuff to Ukraine that's actually bombing Russia, and yeah. It's crazy. Here's the next one. Polish train track that helped transport aid to Ukraine. Here's another one. Destroyed in act of sabotage, Prime Minister says. The train between the Polish cities of Warsaw and Lublin was destroyed in an unpredicted act of sabotage over the weekend. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said today, right? Nothing that the railway is critically important for delivering aid to Ukraine. So, the question I have, was it aid or was it weapons? I don't know. For it to be blown up, yeah, I think they were hauling weapons. Don't take what I say as 100%, because I haven't found that yet to be true. But just saying, why would you take out a railroad that was only transporting food? Things that make you go, So yeah, so that was taken out. That's something to watch. All right, the UN staff. Here's the next one. UN staff in Haiti told to stay off the streets after gang flexes muscle. U.S. Marines face gunfire. So um, threats from the Haitian gangs reportedly prompted the UN and foreign embassies to advise staff to stay off the streets of the capital of Port-au-Prince today. UN security directed all staff to work remotely and restrict travel in the West region, while Haiti's national police canceled all um, personal leave until further notice, according to the Miami Herald. So, this thing is not getting any better over there in Haiti. And I think it is important for us to pay attention to that and to pray for the people there that are just being overrun by this gang. I have some friends who are missionaries that go over there, and they haven't been able to go because of all of this that's happening. And so let's pray for the churches actually that are there, that my friend and his team have been working so closely with. And let's keep praying for those Christians over there and all of those people that are just caught in the middle of all this mess there in Haiti. I mean, it's a terrible ordeal, and I'm praying for all of those that are there that are having to go through it, especially all of the missionaries and the people that are actually working to do some kind of good there, right, for the Haitian people. So man, that is something to really, really keep in prayer for tonight. Here's the next one. 3 more Chinese astronauts are now stranded in space following the successful rescue of their colleagues. It says here the Shenzhou 21 crew has been marooned on China's Tiangong space station after 3 of their colleagues were brought back to Earth in the wrong spacecraft. For now, the astronauts have no safe way of returning home. So, yeah, that's pretty scary. Pretty scary. I mean, as I was reading that, Timu kept coming into my brain. I don't know why. Lord forgive me. But yeah, let's keep these people in prayer. I would hate to be stuck in space because, well, I am of the claustrophobic kind, and I don't like confined spaces. And I think that would just probably drive me nuts. So let's keep those guys in prayer for real. All right. Last piece of information I have here actually kind of ties in with what we're going to be talking about tonight. Thank you, Christina, for joining us over on TikTok. Thank you for being here with us. So if you saw my video this morning, in one of the pictures on the before you click on the video, there's like a picture of me, and sometimes I put the title of what the video is. I didn't do that today because I wanted the pictures to kind of speak to what was going to be talked about this morning. And one of those pictures that's on that collage is a picture of the protesters attacking the police with the what looks like plastic riot shields. And there's a guy that's hoisting, to me, it looks like a sledgehammer, but it's probably not. The board is like really pretty thick and really square, and I don't know what the top piece is. But if you guys want to look at this picture, it's the last link in the description for tonight's live stream. So look in that description. You can click on that, look at that picture. It's pretty eye-opening when you look at that, right? So a protest by Mexico's Gen Zers turned violent at the National Palace, injuring 20 civilians and over 100 police officers. If you didn't see any of these videos, I mean, these police officers were getting it handed to them big time. And the march, according to the thing here, it says the march was sparked by the murder of your Urupan mayor. Yeah, I don't think I said that right. Carlos Manso. And so this guy was killed. And yeah, the peaceful protest by Mexico's Gen Zers ended in a violent clash at the National Palace Saturday. This happened over the weekend, leaving 20 civilians and more than 100 police officers injured and around 20 people arrested. I mean, when you look at the mass of people that were there, there was a ton of people at this protest. And when you look at the immensity of it, you look at videos of them throwing Molotov cocktails at buildings and catching things on fire and, fighting the police. And I mean, it went nuts. But there was a ton of people, but only to have 20 people arrested. I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? It brought thousands. This thing says here it brought thousands of people together in Mexico City. Was one of there was a bunch of marches that were held in 52 cities across Mexico. And I think the place where it really went off, and the picture on this is from Michoacan, Mexico. So all of this popped off over the weekend, and this is going to lead us into our topic for tonight, which I think is a really, really important topic, because I think we really kind of need to pay attention, because this is just right next door to us, right? Back then when riots were happening in Argentina or wherever it was down south, and then stuff was happening in Europe and, all these other places, back then I said, you know what, guys, we got to pay attention to this, because what's happening over there is going to eventually happen here. And guess what? It eventually happened here, right? So Fernando is now kind of on vigilant alert status when things happen right next door. And so because I live in Texas, I am really paying attention to what, is really happening. Hello, Michael. Welcome in, my friend. Good to see you here on the YouTubes. It has brought me to, what? This is happening over here in Mexico, and I think it's important for us to know that it's happening, and what does that look like for us, right? So tonight, I really want us to unpack this, and I really want you guys to talk about it in the chat, because I think we really need to understand the immensity of this thing and what is happening there in Mexico, and what does it mean for Americans, right? What does it mean for us as we prepare, not only physically, but what does it mean for us to prepare spiritually for this thing, right? So tonight's video, and I'm going to say it because I say it all the time, what we talk about in here is not to cast fear, but it is to help you see what is happening and what could potentially come from that, and how you can prepare for it, right? So it's not about fear, right? This is about awareness. This is about wisdom, and watching current events so that we can learn, so that we can prepare, and that we can stay grounded in Christ. I think that's just the important thing for all of us, right? Because when chaos erupts, right, somewhere else, a wise warrior asks, what can this teach me if something similar is to happen right here where I live? And I think that is the most important question that we should ask, right? I mean, because if if anything, all of us just want to be safe. All of us just want to be uh, prepared, right? We can't prepare for everything, but we can prepare for anything, right? And I think that's just that, right? I'm just going to say that. So let's look at this. Let's look at Mexico's instability and what are the lessons for us here, right? So we know that Mexico is experiencing this, intense instability right now, right? They have a lot of civil unrest. We saw that over the weekend. There is government tension leading up to the weekend. There has been people in the Mexican government speaking outwardly, out loud, about the president and her ties with the cartel, the government and its ties with the cartel as well. And then I saw a video today of can't remember who I saw today, but they were talking about um, how President Trump asked, hey, we can help militarily, and the person said, no, we're going to do this with hugs and not bullets. Yeah, well, look where that has gotten you, right? So, you know, here's how I'm looking at this, and I want you guys to look at situations like this, and I want you guys to actually do the same thing, right? So, as God's prepared warriors, um, we shouldn't just observe and say, "Oh, that's happening," right? Um, but we should learn, right? So one of the things I do is I ask questions, right? I have this conversation with myself. I don't answer myself, so I'm okay. But I do ask myself questions. For example, why is this happening? What caused this thing, right? Because that's gonna make us kind of dig deep of why is this happening, right? The next thing, as this is happening, as I'm watching this unfold to where it was, a protest, and then it all of a sudden just like it went off like a match, right? My thing was, wow, that kind of escalated really quickly, right? How fast did things shift? I mean, if you were watching this, it shifted rather quickly, right? How did people react? If you watch the videos, you will know how they reacted. And then the other question I ask is, how did the government respond? I haven't seen much just of yet, but I am going to be looking for that answer. How did the government respond to all of this? And then how did the cartels take advantage? I'm gonna explain that here in a little bit. But because if you think about it, if a nation next door can destabilize as quickly as this did over the weekend, it's a reminder that no country, right, is invincible, including our own country, right? I mean, things like this can just happen so rapidly and so fast. So looking at this gives us an idea that if over here or even worldwide, if poop is to hit the fan, how quickly things can just kind of flip on a dime, right? And so I think that for all of us, as God's prepared warriors, preparedness is about learning from other situations, right? So that we're not blindsided when it actually happens here. Remember in the opening here, I said, back then when all of these riots were happening in other places, I said, what happens over there will eventually happen here. And it did. I'm kind of looking at this thing over here, kind of like being something for me to kind of look at, remember, and because if I spot it here, it's gonna spiral out of control really fast, right? So just something to question, right? What caused it? How fast did things kind of shift? and how did people react? These are the questions I ask, right? So yeah, all right. So let's talk about, how did the cartels take advantage? Because I want to talk about cartel power, and I want you to see a warning sign about power vacuums, right? So one of the biggest lessons that we're learning from this happening is that when government control weakens, even just a little, right? Our forces, you know, um, other forces rush into a vacuum. What do I mean by that? In Mexico, that force is the cartels, right? They're organized, they're armed, they have money, they have influence, and then they have territorial control, right? As prepared warriors, um, as we're watching this, as we're looking at this, if something shook the government, right? At a local level or even at a national level here in the United States, who would try to fill that vacuum here, right? So because of all of this happening over there in Mexico, the cartels are now digging even deeper into that uh, government that is falling apart, because they already have a grip on it, right? And so what if that was to happen here? What would it look like? Would it be, gangs, uh, you know, uh, filling that vacuum? Would it be extremist groups here in the United States that are filling that vacuum? Maybe opportunists, right? Maybe corrupt politicians trying to fill that vacuum if there is a crack in the government and it's beginning to tumble or topple over, right? Mexico is showing us, I want you guys to get this. Mexico is showing us what happens when order erodes, right? It doesn't stall, it really shifts, right? And this is a lesson that we as Americans cannot ignore. We got to see what is happening over there and how that can actually happen and transition over here, right? What is that impact? What is the impact that's going to hit us? So I want to talk about impact, but let me first let's see. John says it kind of reminds me of how the Arab spring spread across the regions. Yeah. Um, Salman says, sadly, the cartel has been in charge for a long time. Yes, they have. It is deeply rooted. Yeah, there. Yes, it is. And so yeah. I mean, there's that vacuum is being filled constantly by the cartel, and because of all of this happened over the weekend, I can already feel that they're actually digging in a whole lot deeper. Now let's talk about impact, because I touched a little bit on that this morning, but I didn't get into really detail, and I kind of want to look at that today. And what does that look like for us? So when a neighboring nation destabilizes, right, those effects always cross the border. When you look at Ukraine and what's happening over there, there's a lot of bleed over, because this is a war between Ukraine and Russia, but there's a lot of bleed over, right? And then you have those that come to help, come to supply needs, with boxes of stuff, uh, if you know what I'm throwing out there, right? These things cross the border. But there's something I want to show you that's a little bit deeper, right? So what's happening there could be kind of a preview of what could happen here politically, socially, and also economically, right? Mexico's situation teaches us these realities, right? Unrest causes rapid population movements, because guess what's going to happen? Because now that there's turmoil there in that country, guess where they're going? They're not going to Russia. They're not going to the UK. They're gonna push up against the US. And honestly, the border is not totally secure. There's a stretch of fence that is still not fixed. And we're going to see an influx of people wanting to come into the United States to claim asylum because of the turmoil that's happening there. And, we have laws that allow for that, right? So what does that mean? That means that infrastructure is going to become overwhelmed, right? If they're let in, crime is going to increase if they're let in. Borders are going to get strained. The border patrol is, there's only so many of them, right? And so there's going to be a strain there. The communities along the border are going to feel the impact first. They're going to be the first ones that feel any kind of impact as people come to seek asylum. And so I think that's an important thing to think about. And then, local systems, not federal, but local systems, will have to carry the burden of, helping those individuals. These are some of the things that I've been really thinking about today of, what can happen, right? So if a similar thing like that, instability, hit the U.S., your city, your county, your community would be the first line of impact. So what is happening in Mexico, right? It's a corrupt government that, because of social media, because now we have a closer eye on what is happening in our world through social media, we can now see corruption. And so I think it was Glenn in one of his comments today. I'm going to share it, Glenn. He asked, he said, this has been happening in Mexico for a long time. And I agreed with him. And I also said that, the reason why they are in revolt today or this weekend is because they are actually now seeing the corruption, right? Where, this whole time it's been the government, it's been the president, but in reality, behind the curtain was the cartel who had their hands in the cookie jar as well. And so that's what's really happening right now in Mexico. And it's destabilizing really, really rapidly. And this is actually a training lesson for us unfolding in real time for us to really understand if poop hits a fan, EMP happens, solar flare, nuclear weapon. If any of that happens, it will shift so rapidly. If we have not been vigilant and paying attention, those who are not in the know are going to be just overwhelmed by what is going to happen in that moment. So that's a huge lesson for us. It's a big thing that we have to pay attention to. Scott says the cartels are truly satanically evil. Yes, they are. Psalmist says I agree. Shelly, welcome in. It's okay. You're not late. You're actually on time. So it is a live scene playing out for us to help us understand how we need to be prepared if anything like that was to happen here. So what can we learn from this crisis? What can we learn? So here are some lessons that I kind of jotted down today. Instability escalates fast, right? This watching this is what happens. Mexico didn't slide slowly. Things shifted really quickly. I'm telling you, it was like, last week, you had all these people coming out and speaking against the president, really speaking out on the person that was murdered. I think there was another lady that was also murdered last week. And so it hit the fan, literally last week, with politicians coming out and coming up against the president and her ties with the cartels. And then the people got involved, and then it just went from there. So you know this didn't slide slowly. Things shifted really, really quickly and dramatically, right? So what should we learn from that? We should not wait to prepare. We should be preparing as of now, right? We should be, stockpiling food. We should be, stockpiling water. We should be doing all those things, right? But at the same time, that's physically, but at the same time, spiritually, we need to be in prayer and in communication with the Lord, for his protection and for things going on, and for him to intercede, and for him to, just kind of continue to guide us, give us wisdom in all of that, and, move our steps, right? He's the one that directs our steps, right? So this should teach us to not wait to prepare, but to prepare now, right? Here's the second lesson. People react emotionally and not strategically. I think this is important. People act emotionally. They just do things without even thinking, right? When you talk about road rage, that's that thing. It's doing something that you normally wouldn't do, and you just do it, right? So people react emotionally and not strategically, right? So fear leads to panic. Fear leads to violence, and then fear also leads to um, desperate movement, right? So out of this reaction, what can we learn from, right? Stay mentally and spiritually grounded. That's what I was just saying, right? We have to prepare in the physical. We have to prepare spiritually, because this kind of a shift is going to change a lot of things. Things are going to go out the window that were, morality. Things are going to go out the window that things were, normal. And now the not normal things are going to become the normal things. So we have to think in that way, right? So people are going to react emotionally and not strategically. And so we have to stay mentally and spiritually grounded for our own sakes, right? Here's the third lessons. When systems strain, communities carry the load. Hospitals, shelters, border towns, food banks, churches, they will feel it first, right? And so it's important for us to prepare spiritually and physically. And it's important for us to strengthen our local networks now. This is what I've been talking about on this channel, is that there's not going to be room for any lone wolves, because if there's anything that this thing can show us, is that this mob of people will wipe out. They wiped out a bunch of policemen with plastic shields. I mean, they didn't wipe them out, but they hurt them really bad, right? Can you think about you and your family, a horde of people coming down your street, and you're not ready for that? I mean, that we have to strengthen our local networks. I think that is so important. We need each other. That's the key thing that this channel is going to talk about when it comes to community. We need each other, right? Whether that's your local group, whether that's a mag that you have, I'm trying to start that here. God's Prepared Warrior Mag. And we're learning, we would be learning and helping each other and helping others and even reaching out beyond, even in a time of good time, right? We don't just prep for ourselves, but we prep for those that are in need. So we have to strengthen our local networks now, and we can't go on without doing that. I live in a cul-de-sac, and my whole goal is to learn and know every neighbor in my cul-de-sac, so that we can defend the cul-de-sac if ever poop hits the fan and we have to take care of our families. And hey, get to know your people. I think that's important. Lesson number 4 out of this, criminal organizations thrive on chaos, right? So if there's this free for all of, we're beating the cops down, they're going to jump in it. They're going to jump in head first, and that's where they thrive. They thrive in chaos. Here in Mexico, cartels, expanded their influence immediately, right? Because now you got this angry mob of people, and they want to go against the government because the government's corrupt. The cartels are now going to put the word out, hey, let's start getting people who are mad and they want to do something. They're going to become part of the cartels without even know that they became part of the cartels. Make sense? We're going to overthrow the government and you don't even know who you teamed up with. That's kind of scary. So yeah, we got to pay attention to that, right? Cartels will do that, right? What did we learn from this, right? In crisis, evil forces move fast. So we have to stay alert, and we have to be spiritually armored. We have to put on the full armor of God, guys. I don't know how else, or how many more times, or how many more times I got to say that. It's so important for us, right? So think about that. Think about those things. Lesson number 5 here: humanity will go where safety is, right? So when danger increases, right, people are going to flee. And so we have to prepare for population shifts, resource strain, and we also have to prepare for an increase in local need. So if you have a homeless community in your area and you live in a border town, those communities are going to grow even larger. And we saw that in the last administration, right? And so much to the point where people were being bussed across the United States and dropped off in places that were crazy, right? So we got to pay attention to that, and that's what we learned from this crisis in Mexico. What should we do? Now let me shift now to what we as God's prepared warriors are to do. This is what I am already doing, right? How do we do that as God's prepared warriors? Number 1, we got to pay attention. You hear me talk about that all the time. Stay vigilant, right? Stay prepared. We got to pay attention to what's happening. Now that this is happening, we should keep a close eye on the progression of what is happening, right? We need to pay attention to that. We also need to pay attention to the border and what are those effects that are going to be felt there, right? We need to do that, not excessively, but wisely, right? I'm not telling you to keep like a close eye out your window if you live in a border town. I'm saying, what does it look like from the people who give you information from there, right? So what is the Border Patrol saying? What is local news saying about maybe an influx of people at the border, things like that, right? So pay attention to the global and border events. The next one is think in terms of local resilience, right? If something, like this struck here, your church, your neighborhood, and your family, what would that be like for you, right? What do you do in that circumstance? And can you actually get with a group and do that together, right? So think about that. Think about terms in terms of local resilience. What does that look like? How do you team up, right? Maybe that's with your family. Maybe you put together a support system. Maybe you build a mag. Maybe you build a tribe. Whatever that looks like, right? Think about it in terms of local resilience. Number 3, I'll say it again, build relationships now. Don't wait for crisis to start caring about, your community. You actually should be doing that now. You actually should be, getting prepared for that. You actually should be thinking about that since a long time ago, actually. So build those relationships now. Number 4, strengthen your preparedness, right? Strengthen, your food build, right? What does that look like? Strengthen your skills. Don't go beyond the first aid kit and learn bigger things. Stop the bleed. All that stuff. Learn that. I'm not telling you to become a doctor. I'm telling you to go beyond the Band-Aid. Just saying, learn, right? Learn protection, right? You might say, Fernando, I don't have a way of protection other than this baseball bat. Learn how to use that baseball bat. Yeah, you go to the backyard, hit a punching bag with a baseball bat. Learn how to use that baseball bat for baseball, right? Purposes. Strengthen your preparedness. That's important. Strengthen your communication plan. What does that look like? You got to have a comms plan. I have a PACE plan built in with my comms, and I've made videos, so you guys got to go check that out and learn how to use your equipment. Don't just have it, use it, right? Ask. I've always told y'all, send me an email, Fernando, I need help with comms. I will help you. Do it. Don't be afraid to learn, right? And then just be aware. Situational awareness is important, and it's important for us even now with all of this that's happening over there, because it can eventually happen here, right? And here, the next one, most important, strengthen your faith. I'm going to tell you this. I don't have, if you serve God, follow him. If you're a Christian, yeah, you should be 100% in God's word. You should be 100% in communication with God, because that's your number one comms plan right there. That should be your first number one comms plan. And then your first number one preparedness is preparing yourself spiritually. That's so important. It's so important. We got to strengthen your faith, because preparedness, is actually pointless without spiritual discernment. Because what's going to happen when poop hits the fan, things are going to flip. Morality is going to flip. Things that you were not doing before, people are going to be doing those things now, right? And so you have to be ready for that. You have to be ready to a life or death situation, eliminate the thing that is harming you or your family. You're going to have to think, and when poop hits the fan, like, you're going to have to think about that, right? And it's going to be important for you to live, or you're going to die, right? Because preparedness is pointless without spiritual discernment. We need that. It's important. So what we see happening in Mexico, is not just a story. It is a reminder. It is a lesson. and it is a call to be wise stewards of our own preparedness, right? We don't fear the future. We learn from it, or we learn from the past, and we prepare for the future, right? And we stay grounded in God, who holds tomorrow in his hands. That's the important thing, guys. If instability ever touches our nation, in a faster way, right? It's already touching it, but in a faster way, we want to be the ones who are steady, who are ready and spiritually anchored, right? So, guys, I look at this with such an eye on, man, what if this happens over here, right? It's that crazy. Glenn says, work as if everything depended on man, and pray as if everything depends on God. Yes, you're exactly right. Michael says, I like that. Um, yeah, so that is where we are in our world today. And, that's happening in Mexico. They say that things are about to kick off in Venezuela. And then if you just, right before I came on today, I posted a post on TikTok of, movement in battleships again. And so, Russia is doing things, and we got to stay on top of that. So, guys, I will tell you, as I always do, stay vigilant and stay prepared. And the time to do that is now. And so, start prepping. If you haven't started and you need help, reach out to us. We everybody in this chat on YouTube is doing that. And I'm not going to speak for them, but I will say, reach out to me, and I will tell you where to start and how to do it. So we need each other, guys. We need each other to get through all this craziness, and we need to start prepping now if we have not. So start prepping. Don't linger, and as always, stay grounded in God's word. Look at Scripture, and look at the promises that are found in there, and claim those things for yourself. My claim is Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to destroy you, but to give you a future and hope. The other one is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge him. In other words, thank him for everything. And the last part of that verse says, and he will direct your steps. Those are promises found in God's word for us to claim for ourselves. And so that's how we stay grounded in his word. We take those things, and whenever fear comes up, we got to remember, God hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but love, power, and a sound mind. And so whenever fear comes up, we grasp that and we make it obedient unto Jesus. And we say, God hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but love, power, and a sound mind. That's 2 Timothy 1:7. So, guys, stay vigilant, stay prepared. Thank you for joining me tonight, guys. I hope this was awesome for you guys, and continue to talk about it in the chat. Maybe even go back to this morning's video, maybe even talk about it in there. There's a really condensed version of kind of what we talked about tonight. And, I think it's just important for us to look at things that are happening just across the border, and to kind of, it gives us a picture of what can actually develop over here. So think about it, guys. Great message, Fernando. Scott says, thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Have a great night, guys, and hope all of you are doing okay. I am going to continue to pray for all of you. Be safe out there, and see you on tomorrow's video. God bless you guys. See you next time.